Hello everyone, welcome back to my SilverStripe with React tutorials. In this video we will be going over how to create drop-downs for our created subpages, and also you might have noticed that when we transition between pages it doesn't update our title, so we'll go ahead and fix that up. The first thing we will do is make sure that we're running npm run watch so that when we make changes Webpack builds. And what we'll do here is in the if data we'll say if data dot title, we will say document dot query selector, just query selector, not all, and then we'll say title, and that will just get the title tag, and then we'll say inner HTML equals data dot title. So now the title should update appropriately. You can see when we go to contact, it goes to contact, about. Next we will update our navigation template. So here we will open this list item up here, and then we will put the link on a new line here, and we will say if children, and we will open up a new unordered list, and we will give it the class nav dropdown. We will close that off. Then we will loop over the children, and then for each of these it's going to be a list item. And then each of these child links will have the same properties as the parent links, so we'll give it the same class, and then we could just copy the actual link down here. Next, in our index.jsx file, we will create a new array for all of our nav links. So we will say var all formatted nav links. And that's just going to equal an empty array. And what we're going to use this for is down here in our switch routing, we will loop over that array instead of the formatted nav links. That way we have a route for each page. Okay, I threw in some comments that makes this code a little bit more understandable. But right before we push onto the formatted nav links array, we're going to tack on children to the formatted nav link. So we'll say formatted nav link dot children equals an empty array. So this is going to be the list of subpages under each main navigation item. So we're going to create a new array called subpages, and it's going to equal array from link dot parent element dot query selector all, and it's going to be ul with the nav dropdown class lia. Now we will loop over each of the subpages. We will say subpages dot for each, and then we will pass in subpage as the variable for each of our sublinks. Now we will format the subpage nav link a lot like how we do the regular nav link. So we will just copy all of this here, change the indentation a little bit, and instead of link it would be subpage. So we'll say all of these links here, not these ones, we'll just change that to subpage, and then we will change this variable to formatted subpage nav link. Now we will change the way that we do the URL segment for the subpages. So instead of URL segment, we will say subpage URL segment, and this will just be the subpage href dot replace document dot location origin, and then we will just replace it with an empty string. And then we will need to reassign the URL segment of the formatted subpage nav link to that variable. Alright, so next we can just push this onto the formatted nav links children. So formatted nav link dot children dot push and then the formatted subpage nav link. And then we would also want to push that onto our all formatted nav links. So we'll say all formatted nav links dot push formatted subpage nav link. All right, we will also do the same thing for the main level link. So all formatted nav links dot push the formatted nav link. Okay, so if we scroll down to our JSX, right here in our formatted nav links, we can check just under the link to see if there are any children on this particular nav link. So we could say link dot children dot length, and we would open that up like a ternary. If there are, we can open up a new UL. And if there aren't, we can just pass in an empty string. We can give this unordered list the class name main nav dropdown. And inside of it, we will start a new loop with the map process. So we will say link dot children dot map, and this will get an arrow function, and we will use subpage link, and then we will return some JSX, and it's going to be a list item for each, and we need a key, so it's going to be the link dot children dot index of subpage link. And then we'll just close that off. Now this is going to be exactly the same as the main navigation link, except we'll just use a different variable name. So we'll change link to the subpage link. Now if we scroll down to our switch statement down here, for all of the routes we will use the all formatted nav links instead of just the main level navigation links. Now if you go back to your front end and refresh, if you also have pages created under your main navigation items, you should see a drop-down show for each of those pages when you hover over that item. This is what it looks like in the mobile view, and this is what it looks like in the desktop view. And we'll just go ahead and adjust the styles and add a few improvements to the JavaScript that will close this navigation after we navigate. On our top level list item here, we will just say on click equals this dot toggle nav. That way, now when we click on a page here, it navigates and it just closes the navigation. That way we don't need to do that ourselves. We will just go ahead and update some of the styles in our navigation partial. So if you scroll down to the main nav dropdown class here, we will say width equals max content. Okay, and then we'll change the color to the same as the main navigation, so that's 555. And then we'll add a hover style for each of the subpage nav links. So then we're going to put the ampersand, hover, and then we'll say background color is black. So now this looks like this. The width is set to the max content of the subpage link content itself, so it's not squished anymore. But if you look at the contact, it kind of goes off screen a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll add a last child selector and then move this particular drop down to the right side of this navigation item. So what we'll do is here on the list item, this is the main nav list item, we'll put it under the hover. We'll put ampersand last child, and then we want the child drop down to be aligned on the right. So we'll say UL main nav drop down, and then we'll say left unset, and then right 0. Now you can see If the last list item has a dropdown, it will be aligned on the right. That way it doesn't go off screen. But the rest of these, if home had dropdowns, then it would be the same as the about and it would be aligned on the left. Next, we will just add some styles for the mobile navigation. Although you wouldn't really be able to hover on a touchscreen device, we should still make this look pretty decent if we're for some reason viewing it on a thinner window on a desktop like this. So what we'll do is we'll come down to the media query here, and in our dropdown styles we will say for the background color we'll just set it to the 555 again, and we need to make sure that this is taking the same width as the entire sidebar. So now you can see here when we hover over subpages of About Us, the About Us page is also highlighted, indicating that it is a child of the About Us page. Okay, this pretty much covers normal pages. So in the next video we will create a new page type. It's going to be a blog page, and each of the blog pages should have articles that should kind of work like subpages and have routes like this where it will be the blog page and then whatever the name of the article is, and that should all just work in a single page like fashion, just like these pages do. So I'll catch you then.